if I ever get to go call for it.
But don't people do that all the time when they blowing, what you call that word, when you bringing somebody back?
Yeah,
Resuscitation?
Yes, yes.
That's the same thing.
Same thing, yes.
Okay.
Breath, though, the thing that brings about life and makes you animated is your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It's not a physical thing. It's the thing that we constantly call the mind. It's what moves you. It causes you to move. So when you talk about breath, what it's saying is there's nothing in the universe that you are not capable of seeing or doing. And the Hebrews have different names for it. From Ruach to Neshama, or whatever you want to call it, it talks about different aspects and different principles of it. But it's talking about the things that make you animated, the things that make you who you are, what you believe in. So if I choose to be more spiritual, if I choose to seek truth, there's nothing that stops me from receiving anything I open myself up to. That's all breath. That's what they describe as life. So it's more than, we see it on the physical. He breathed into him and he became a living soul. We see the animation part, but the animation is driven by your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And that's the part that looks for truth. The part of you that submits to whatever you want to submit to, whether it be fear, whether it be truth, or whatever principle you allow to overtake you.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just back with the idea of breath, and then just connecting it with resuscitation. And even the statement, we're resuscitating someone. What does that really mean, and is that a correct statement of what's happening?
I believe the correct statement is that we are given divine breath, and that's what brings the life back.
But at the same token, can I finish that? At the same token, if I just begging, borrowing,
your permission,
just begging, borrowing, and stealing from all these things that are going on around us, and you go to the movie Avatar, right? Because I think this stuff is people. It's in their conscious and subconscious, and they're writing it and putting it in any kind of method that they can. So here you have the situation of the woman who couldn't be brought back because her body was so damaged that when they went through that resuscitation, they couldn't. So I'm just trying to connect the dots for that kind of thing. So it's not necessarily, is it because, and I'm going to say this in a very flip kind of way, you're only a second level wizard that you can't resuscitate, but had that been Jesus, he could have? Or is there also a reality that an essence, a spirit, a breath has just left and it has no need to come back? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do. And when you talk about damaged bodies, carbon, body parts everywhere, do I believe that Jesus could have brought that back? No. Parts that is damaged for a reason. The breath is gone in the caravan in front of us. Can that breath come back? Yes. Can it come back in the form that resembles what it was before it left or was blown apart? Yes, because the body doesn't keep us alive. We keep the body alive. Let me show you what I'm saying. When Samuel was buried, his body decomposed. There's no evidence that said it didn't. And if Samuel's body decomposed, when the witch at Endora called Samuel back, he recognized the image, the form that he came back in. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. So when we talk about a body being damaged to the point where it can't be resuscitated, it may not be resuscitated in this world, but in the other world, it never needs resuscitation because it always lives.
Because it's not a physical body.
Because it's not a physical body. But it can take a form that resembles that, or to give you the essence of who that was. Because look at Elijah, body had to have been decomposed, but on the mountain, there was Elijah and Moses. It did not say that they were resurrected from the dead. It didn't say that. It says that they appeared to him on the mountain. Does it not?
Yeah.
That's what it says. So from the other realm, it takes a form because it's never dead. It's never decomposed. It's never.
Well, it's never. I suppose you could say it in several ways. It doesn't stop, cease to be,
Right.
and it's never. And here's the more provocative maybe part. This is the aspect of being one with, but still being self. The grain of sand on the beach. You're the beach,
Yeah.
but you're the grain of sand also.
Yes.
And that's a question that's, I know, in all of our minds at one time or another in life. What happens to me? First of all, it's a question of whether you understand what the me is.
Mm-hmm.
But second, there's also the understanding of what happens to that better understood me. Right?
When we come to a place where we understand or accept or become aware that breath, spirit, ruach, however you want to term it, does not have a gender, does not have race, ethnicity, nor superiority. No sense of that whatsoever. When we are no longer a grain of sand, but yet the beach. We become a drop of water, but yet the ocean. Because the grains of sand on the beach are separate.
But our spiritual tradition tells us, does it not, that we are still both.
The beach and the sand. Of course. But we also...
And I'm not talking about in a physical sense. I'm
Okay.
talking about in a spiritual, metaphysical, whatever you want. In the other world, in the spirit world, there's still a you.
I read this account of this neurologist who, and I still have it in my phone, in my email, this neurologist who...
Who died and came back?
yeah, his brain,
Yeah.
Yeah, I read the account of him, and one of the things he related was that he was aware of who he was, but yet he was connected to everything. He was one with everything in the other realm, but yet he realized who he was, and he knew that he was dead because the portion of the brain that ceased to function was the portion that no man can live without it functioning. And by virtue of him being a neurologist, of course, he gave more technical understanding than I'm able to give.
You wrote a book about it.
Yeah, yes, he did. Yeah. So we are just now beginning to see the tip of the iceberg when it comes to some sense of becoming aware of the essence of our being. And when I say the essence of our being, I'm simply, it's no human being, essence of being. Human being is being human. Essence of being is being the essence of who you are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Going back to what everyone was saying about resuscitation,
Mhm.
and then what you said about divine breath, it kind of sparked something, because when you try to resuscitate somebody, what you're blowing into them is not oxygen,
No.
because we expire
Oxygen.
carbon dioxide and whatever.
Yeah.
So what you're blowing into them is carbon
Carbon.
dioxide. So how is that bringing them back? So,
Mm.
so what I think is, I don't know how all that works, and you do, so, but anyway.
And she gonna tell you in a minute, right?
But I think what's happening is, on a physical level, you force their lungs to expand,
Mm-hmm.
and then their body naturally wants to get rid of that. So all that's left is to take in a breath. And I think in that way, they again connect to the divine breath.
Isn't that
On
vibration?
a spiritual level, yeah.
A movement, vibration.
Vibration,
Yeah,
yeah.
rhythm.
You actually do blow out some semblance of oxygen, or
Yeah.
a teeny bit.
This is what they don't tell you when you're doing 15 and 1 or 5 or whatever it is currently. that you gotta not hyperventilate, right? You gotta be careful that you're not ingesting the breath and then putting it.
Yeah, but bottom line, you
Because
are
now-
actually, to answer your question.
Okay,
You
so,
are
but,
actually.
but they're only getting a little bit of oxygen, so, well, so what is it that really brings them back?
Well, we're gonna get technical here, and I don't wanna do that, but let me just
No,
say
I
in
want- I just-
general.
Yeah,
Let me just say in general. Usually when someone requires resuscitation and you can bring them back, it's because they haven't been dead or
Yeah,
long,
yeah.
which means that there's always already a certain amount of circulating oxygen still within the body.
okay.
And so it's
So
not
their
like,
cells are still working.
like Jesus 3 days in the grave and dead. There's nothing.
Nothing similar to
But
that.
Barb, can't you say it another way? What comes to my mind is trying to kickstart a motor. In other words,
Jumpstart.
you're jump starting it early enough in that, well, before it's too late in the process.
Before the natural body loses what
So
you
parts of the body knows what to
call-
do if you
yeah.
give it that stimulus.
You call
That's what
those
it is.
involuntary.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
like,
so you're almost forcing it to connect again.
The body, you know, and
and the
what,
analogy is probably just as well when you do the things on your chest with electric. I mean, there it is
you
even
can-
more.
well, that's the energy.
vivid.
That's a simulation of life energy.
But the point is, there has to be enough residual something in the body's mechanism
To
to
connect
be
to-
able to use that.
Yes.
Otherwise, a dead battery is a dead battery. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why, you know, when you're doing resuscitation, I know when we did it, we watched the time.
But on a spiritual level,
At a
though,
certain period of time, we just cut it off.
on a spiritual level, though, there's enough life in us, the spark of life in us, that it can be kick-started and jump-started too. In everybody, whether we're the drug dealer or whether we're the whore on the side, on the street.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you said that, I think your imagery was, we beg or borrow or steal some of the imagery of spiritual stuff, but the material is a mirror to the spiritual. And so it's man's way of trying to artificially, because that's what this is, all of this is not real, artificially create what something in him knows, some essence in him knows, is quote unquote the way.
That's what Noah did. When it talks about Noah going through the flood, the spiritual imagery of that is the flood being the existence of all things, and he made it to the other side, meaning that he traveled through that, as opposed to remaining there. And he had opportunity to bring into existence a spiritual, for lack of a better term, government. You know, the 40 day, a spiritual awareness, I should say. He had opportunity to do that, but he chose not to. What he chose to do was to reconnect to the superficial. You see?
You mean talking about when he got drunk?
Yeah,
Yeah.
reconnecting to the superficial. Yeah.
But I think this is why we say, too, in our, as long as there's a breath in your body.
You
Right.
can beat it.
I'm just amazed at all the folk phrases we have that just are trying to tell us. Because it's that instinctive why do they persist? Why do they last so long?
Right.
Because it's a way of telling us something, whether we pay attention to it or not. So as long as you have breath in your body.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about redemption, and I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but from the Buddhist and other senses, that's why the last rites say, if in that instant, before there's no longer breath in you, you connect with truth. It's all done. It's all done,
Okay. Moving along.
right?
Yes. Jesus said, believest thou this?
Are we waving our hands?
Jesus says, do you have confidence in what I just said? Do you trust what I just said? That's what he's saying. And what does her reply?
Yeah.
Yes, Lord.
Yeah. Yes. Now I must do this.
Now we can all go eat the chicken.
She is no longer speaking to Jesus, the man who is her friend. She's no longer speaking to him.
Okay.
She recognizes where all of this is coming from now.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
So now she referenced the spiritual. I have confidence that you are messianic, that you are a light from God, of the light of Elohim, which come or moved into, well, a better word in Aramaic would be through diversity, or was brought to diversity. Now, this is what makes me know also that she was no longer speaking to the man. It says, when she said what she had to say, she went her way. I'm just leaving it in the hands of the Lord, kind of thing.
Yeah.
She went her way. And she left him and she called Mary. And what did she say? The master is the teacher. The teacher is here. Did you send for him? That's what she said. Now, what did Mary do? She got up and she came to him, and we're not going to go through all that individually. There were Jews with them in the house, and the reason they were there is because, number one, you don't let anybody die alone. That's why back in the day they used to bring bodies home and somebody sit with them. There's also was a law that if a mortuary had a body, they couldn't leave that body in there alone. Somebody had to be there through the night with that body. These are the kinds of things. Now they were at the point of mourning. They were helping them to mourn the transition of Lazarus. That's why they were still there. And it says that she went to her sister secretly. She did not tell her in the midst of everyone else what had transpired.
Right.
I'm sorry to just kind of break in here and ask a question really to Barb. And I'm not putting it all on your shoulders, but I've tried to imagine myself, and there's been in one small slight instance or two, an occasion where why would I be told that medical procedure required that I leave the room when the person, whoever, is going through a procedure where they might not survive?
Simply because this is
I'm a distraction.
and man just doesn't understand the deeper spiritual connection.
Because every instinct in my body tells me
That's it.
you'd have to drag me out of there,
And they would.
and it would take some big guys.
Yeah, they would. They just give you a shot and take you out.
Yeah.
Well, they gotta get the shot in.
Okay. Now, okay, here we are.
Ignorance, Rich. That's it.
We see now that Mary goes to Jesus, and Mary goes to Jesus. She falls at his feet, and she tells Jesus, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died. He would not be dead. Therefore, Mary is still seeing death as the end.
Being human. Yeah.
Yes, she's being human.
Okay.
Even though she addresses the spiritual. You see that? When Jesus sees her weeping,
But here's a question, Pastor.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Martha who came to? Who was it that? Was it
Martha was first.
Who spoke to Spirit once she understood?
Yes.
Then she came to Mary, so Mary may not have understood yet.
she didn't.
Okay.
She didn't.
You gotta also remember what her name is at
Bill-
this point.
Bitterness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, when Jesus saw crying, and when he saw the others weeping, what did he do? Now listen at this. It says that he came to her. Does it not?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay. How is it that he came to her and she was already there at his feet?
The essence of
The
who he
essence
was.
of who he was came to her. Like you say, oh, that thought just came to me. That's what it's talking about when it says he came to her. These are the things we need to pay attention to in the scriptures. Because if she was already at his feet, she could not have physically come to him. She was already there. He could not have physically gone to her because he's already there. Now, when he came to her, what happened is he began to express empathy. And he groaned, his spirit groaned, his breath, the spiritual groaned. The spiritual was troubled. Let me show you what that means. When those children were killed in Connecticut, there was a sense of mourning. The spirit, those who had empathy, their spirit groaned to the point of tears. And you did not know any of them. But you are connected to them. You see where I'm coming from? Yeah. That's the spirit. That's what that's what is talking about here. You are troubled. And there are people who are troubled to the point to where they're trying to fix it from a superficial perspective by controlling the physical weapons. That's not going to fix it. It has to be repaired by the man being aware of who he is and what life has to offer. And I don't mean life in terms of the material life. How does that happen? That happens because of people like us. When you begin to become aware of the truth that you are, when you are aware of the journey, the radiant, the light journey, the pathway of light that you travel, and the direction in which you travel, you receive the life energy to travel that path, and it begins to be reflective in your life, and it moves out beyond where you are. What am I saying? If you say, what's up, dog? Now, I use this term quite frequently. On the East Coast, how did it get to the West Coast? Didn't nobody send an email. So how did it get out there? It has to be picked up in the spiritual. So what we do, there is a spiritual, in the natural, it's a butterfly effect. It takes time to get there. In the spiritual, it is already there. Is it? Yes. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. So, what did Jesus say? Where you put him? Right? Where you put him? Come and see. Jesus cried. Isn't that what it said?
Yes.
Okay, he wept.
Yeah, that's the story of scripture. They say Jesus will help. Okay, I remember that one.
That was my Easter speech. 2 words.
Jesus wept and Mary fell out the back door step. Okay.
There's got to be more.
Jesus.
That's not finished.
Jesus wept. That's it. Now, why did he weep? Who is this Mary? He did not weep with Martha. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Mary touched his heart and he wept. He wept as a man. Look at what it says. It did not say, and the Lord wept.
No.
It says Jesus wept. If you were to say the Yeshua, you would be saying the Jesus. You would be saying the Yahweh who delivers. That's why in Aramaic settings, when reference is made to Jesus in Aramaic, is the Yeshua, as opposed to like a proper name. Because it is his action, it is his purpose that's reflected in the name that he was given. And that's why he was called Yeshua as opposed to Emmanuel. Okay? Because Yeshua, Emmanuel is God with you, and if Yahweh who delivers is there, then Elohim is there. Okay? Now, then the Jews said, oh my God, he loved him And then he goes on. They go on to talk about, he opened blind eyes. How come, can he keep this man from dying? And then I want to get to the gravesite. That's what I want to get, because I'm gonna be finished when I get to the gravesite. All right. Okay. Then Jesus says to Lazarus, "Come forth." That's what I've been trying to get all day. He says, "Come forth." In the Aramaic, that means also to come out, as in coming out of something, coming out of the tomb, coming out of the grave. How come he didn't go in there and have them bring him out and then he resurrected? He said, "Come out." He was coming out of death. He was coming out of darkness, out of confusion. He was coming out of the superficial beliefs that he had. He's calling him to a place of enlightenment. Every one of us is Lazarus. And the voice of the Yeshua is saying to us, come out of the darkness that you live in. That is one of the reasons that the followers of Jesus were called the people of the way. Because the word way is connected to Ludah in the Aramaic or in the Hebrew, which means light. So way is talking about, when you say the people of the way, it's the people who travel the enlightened pathway. That's what it's talking about. Why is it that when the Aramaic, when the people of the way who were following the scriptures based upon the the spiritual Aramaic translation of it, why is it that they did not physically fight back when they were attacked by those who sought to take Christianity and mold it into what they wanted it to be, as opposed to what it was intended to be? Why is it they didn't fight back? They went to countries like Turkey. They went to Syria. They went to other places that would protect them. And all the countries that they went to for protection were Islamic countries. That's who protected them from the Catholic Church when during the Inquisition. That's who protected them. And by the way, I just remember the name now, but the Office of Inquisition, the name was changed to something else.
It's still there.
But they changed it a couple of years ago. But it's still there.
Yeah.
But they changed the name because of the flack they was getting because of it, but it means the same thing. The Inquisition is just done a different way now. But anyway, why is it they did not fight back physically when they were attacked physically? Because they believed that if they were killed, for lack of a better term, for the sake of righteousness, that they would be connected to, in the other realm, the Jesus or the Yeshua that said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. The Jesus who said, let not your hearts be troubled. Don't be confused. Trust what I say, or trust as I do. This is who they felt they'd be connected to. Why? Because Jesus said, where I am, there ye shall be also. If it was not the right direction, I would have told you. Jesus said that where I is, you are there also. Where the I am is, for understanding's sakes, that's where you are. When Jesus talked about coming to them, Jesus was talking about them being able to connect to Him as he was able to connect to Moses and Elijah.
And as he was just able to connect to Mary by revealing
Right.
himself.
That in that manner, that's what he's talking about. So the other thing is this.
So you mean it's not associated just with Jesus coming in that cloud one day?
It's not happening.
Because that's what.
Yeah, it's not happening. When he talked about we will be caught up in him in mid-air, that particular scripture says that it does say caught up, but it's talking about being caught up spiritually. Like you get caught up in some mess. That's the sense that that word caught up is in the scriptures. So it's not the sense of you floating away. That's not it at all. Now, Jesus said, if you trust, just like I trust, or if you trust the one I trust, however you want to see it, if you trust, if you believe as I believe, not only will you be capable of doing what I have done, but greater things that you shall do. So, to skeptics who say that you will not be able to connect to Jesus as he did to Elijah and Moses, then why did Jesus say we would? When Jesus talks about the kingdom being in us, when Jesus says that you just don't see it, it's in you. What he's saying is the energy, the life energy of the Creator is there. Everything in the universe is there. The power is there. It's in you. That's what he is saying. And he's saying, as long as you are arrogant and think that you know, you will not see it. You have to become as a phone. He says, you have to have the innocence of a child. In order to, does he not?
Yes.
Because he knows that we are so religious until it's very difficult for us, even though we make the choice with our lips, even though we desire it in our minds, he recognizes that we have our minds sometimes confused with our hearts.
Yeah.
And until we desire it in our hearts, we don't begin to see it. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And the heart, to the Hebrew or to Jesus, the heart is not this fleshly thing. It is the essence of life energy. It is the essence of the Creator. It is the essence of the one who created us. That's what he's talking about. Because it is in the heart where all truth, it is from the heart rather, that all truth proceeds, not your mind. We cannot understand the scriptures from a mental perspective. We cannot see the cosmic energy, the power, the ability, the essence that Jesus had. We can't see that from a natural perspective. He's not talking about seeing it with your eyes. He's talking about seeing it like if you don't understand something and it gets explained to you, then what do you say?
About to fall out the shelf.
What do you say? The thing you say is, okay, I see it.
I see.
You see? I just said it. So it is not seeing with your eyes. It is not perceiving with your mind. It is perceiving with your heart and seeing with the third eye. The eye of enlightenment. That's what he's talking about. So, I'm through.
Well, I got a question.
Okay. I thought I was through.
No, so the innocence of a child, and it says that because a child has not developed all these layers of baggage and whatever through which it screens stuff yet.
Right.
Just has to be open?
It's like a child. Kids grow up playing together in an integrated neighborhood, and then the parents begin to teach the child racism. Child don't know that. Now, racism can be taught on either side. So that's why they make a distinction. The parent began to teach the child racism. That's where it comes from. Because the child does not develop that as he grows up. The child is malleable. Is that a word? Yeah, okay, that word. That's what a child is. You can mold that child. If we can get beyond our own egos and begin to travel this journey of enlightenment, then awareness will overtake us, as opposed to us searching for it. Are you with me? Any questions about that?
Back to,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, ma'am, go ahead.
no, go. No.
And what you just stated right there. We as individuals, we encounter situations in our lives, what you stated in the beginning. Some things come in our lives out of darkness.
Yes.
And what you just stated, in order for us to overcome that we have to believe
Yes.
within ourselves the truth.
Yes.
In order to come out those things, that situations come out of our
Exactly.
lives. Now, how do you cope with that with individuals who don't know?
You don't, unless they ask questions.
Okay, but just a question.
Mhm.
When God left, okay, when he died and he was resurrected, right? He gave us, like you said, we're like in his image.
Yes.
Gave us the spiritual power, I guess I'm gonna say spiritual
That's
power,
right.
to go and tell everybody or speak to everyone the truth.
Mhm.
So if when you say we don't, what do you mean we don't? I'm confused.
We
there.
mean we don't want.
You said we don't, but the individual.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm saying that we don't seek to do it in a physical way
Mhm.
by handing out tracts and telling people you're not saved.
Okay.
That's how we don't do it.
Okay.
Right now, as we speak, it is being done. Because what truth travels beyond this room. And I said to a lady not long ago that the questions will begin to come to people that will prompt you to give them the answers from the clarity of the scriptures. And it began to happen to her. So what I'm saying is, when I say that, I'm saying that we don't belittle people by having a sense of superiority. I'm saving you not. That's what I mean. But we don't.
So it's the very life that we live, in essence, seeing the light in us. Even Jesus said, if I be lifted up, and what is it that the I is? The I is.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about.
Right.
And so we got that in us too. And if that's exposed to everyone, then that's what draws them with their questions to us.
Right.
So we don't have to badger them. There's no spiritual coercion. You're going to die unless you believe this. There's none of that.
It's the way you live your life. The greatest message you will ever send to anyone is the way you live your life. And I'm not talking about when everything is going well with you.
Right.
I'm talking about the Lord. When the Lord is our shepherd, I have no lack. You have an abundance of troubles also to help propel you to the right place of direction. I mean, the right place of truth, a desire for understanding. So it is how you respond. If you respond to circumstances by raising hell or by belittling people, you are also belittling yourself. But more importantly, you are sending the wrong message. You don't stick up your third finger at somebody because they cut you off in traffic.
That's right.
Just be still. Let me tell you something. When we were leaving Atlanta, we were in traffic for almost an hour, and I mean bumper to bumper. So why didn't it go out then? because it was putting out 0 amps. Why didn't it go out? You see what I'm talking about? There is something that sustains not only us, but everything we're associated with, if we trust that something, and that something is the light of the Creator. That's it.
Back to your question. If you are the light and you exude light, when people want to know what it is that you have, they will come to you. You don't have to worry about going to them at all.
How did you handle that? That's what they asked.
Yeah. I mean, when they're ready, they'll come. And you can't force them to come. They have to go through whatever it is they're going through to get to a point where they're ready to see the light, where they're ready to be resurrected or resuscitated.
Is that the same thing as the teacher being sent to them?
It's the same thing as when the student is ready, the
Yep.
teacher will appear.
Yeah.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That's the same thing.
Okay.
We must have, see, this is the thing that gets me.
I would say, sorry, it's not that the teacher appears, you recognize the presence of the teacher. The teacher's there all the time.
He appears to you.
He appears to you, as in,
Yeah.
as in Jesus came.
No, we don't mean physically.
No,
Didn't show up and knock on your door.
no, we don't mean
No.
physically. No. I'm not talking about physically.
No,
No.
You recognize.
You recognize, is that, I've never worn a suit during the week unless I'm going to a funeral. And the reason I haven't, in all the years that I have been ministering, is not because I know what I know now. It's because I did not want to be treated different than other people because I had on a suit and tie. And folk with African American males during the week, suit and tie in the South, you must be a preacher. Yeah, I did not want that to happen. I observed how men in suit and ties were treated differently in stores and banks and by other people in public places than the people who did not have a suit and tie. I didn't want that. I wanted people to deal with me on the basis of who I really am. And I'm not reverend. No. My mama named me Jane Richard. That's who I am. And when you see James Richard, the question is, do you see light or confusion? If you go to Union and ask about me or to Gaffney or to Spanberg, what they will say to you is he'll help you. He'll do whatever he can to help you. Why? Because that's the light that I exude. Now, that didn't happen because I wanted it to happen. It happened because it's real. You see what I'm talking about? I don't want people to put me on a pedestal because every time they try to, I tell them I'm going to jump down. That's too high. I fall and I hurt myself. Leave me where I am. So I say to all of us, keep this in mind. The Spirit does not know gender.
Right.
It does not know race. It does not know ethnicity. And it does not know superiority. In order for you to be superior, somebody else must be beneath you. It doesn't know superiority. Ron manages, I don't know how many folk. 100 folk? 200?
92.
Huh?
92.
92 people. Ron manages 92 people. Ron is not superior to those people. He is their servant. When you feel that you're superior to the people that you manage, you will treat them any kind of way to prove your superiority. But when you put your job or your livelihood on the line to protect them, you become their servant. Can you see that?
Yes.
That's what the Holy Book talks about. And anyone who does not have a guide from the Holy Book is in trouble. Because they will go so far out there until they can't find their way back. So it is imperative that whatever we do, that connections are made to the book that was given so that we will have a guide to life itself. Can you agree with that?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Now, I think I said the last thing I'm going to say is this more than one time. I believe that it is time to have an enlightened understanding of the Scriptures. I found the understanding of the Hebrew from a concordance. I searched for the understanding of the New Testament. I could only find it from the Greek until recently. What was it, 2 or 3 years we've been doing this? And what happened, I do not know to this day how the first material from the Aramaic fell into my hands, but it did. And at that point, I began to see the Scriptures from the cultural and enlightened way that Jesus saw the Scriptures, as opposed to the way that the Greeks wrote the Scriptures or translated the Scriptures, which is a language that's fixed as opposed to fluid. So I'm saying I believe that it is time for us to have this enlightened perspective, not to keep in this room, not to make us superior, but to recognize that we are truly the servants of mankind. And when we speak, it has a residual effect on mankind. And the things that we speak has an immediate effect on us. It reflects who we really are. And with that, I'm done for real. Okay. That's it.
So you want us to call him, start calling you James?
It doesn't matter. That was my mama's name. No, if you don't.
But I think what you just ended with. I don't know why he's worried about it. I don't know why he's worried about it. We know there's no ending.
Yeah.
There's only transition to that. And we'll drag you there even if you don't want to go. No, it's just that that's nicely said, but insignificant in the sense that if you're just saying the more of the truth of things that you can embody and be, all the rest is just explaining what comes with it.
Yes.
Right? So because you're stopping, you don't want to say the evangelical interpretation. So get thee to Africa with your Bible and, all that kind of stuff. It's not the way to do it. Just be what you are, where you are, and deal with what responses that brings.
Now,
Right?
yes.
So it's no big deal. It's just
But see, we have not known who we are. It had to be revealed to us. And the way it's revealed to us is by virtue of us beginning to see how Jesus made revelation to the disciples or to those who follow him. From his perspective. You remember when I said that we just need to look at the red? If we can understand the red, everything else will take care of itself. I didn't understand the depth of what I was saying at that moment, but I'm beginning to see that what Jesus taught is life itself. And not life itself in this realm, because we realize that. That's what got us in trouble. But life from beginning. That's what he taught. We are at that place constantly of beginning when our desire is light. When Richard say just be, if your desire is to be light and you just be and allow things to flow and you respond the way you respond, you are desiring to be at that place of beginning. Because at beginning, that's where the light is. The first light is the only light. It's not going anyplace. You cannot extinguish it. It's there. You can't flip a switch and it ends. It's there. It's here. It's everywhere. David talked about that. No matter where I go, it's everywhere. And that's how we have to deal with it. And if you realize that it's every place you are, and you are every place it is, then however you respond, it's a response that's going to propel you to the place, towards the place of truth. Okay? Am I finished it? I think so.
I am.
Oh, I guess not. Go ahead.
Well, you're
What you just said.
Okay. The teacher appears right. Go ahead.
With what you just said, we have to also know that whatever our response is, when we are doing it from the motive of unselfishness, regardless of how people react to it, we can't second guess ourselves and beat ourselves up about, well, should I have done that or shouldn't I have done it? All of that stuff, and begin to let doubt creep in. When our motive when our motive and our intent is to do what's right within light, if that makes any sense, we have to trust that whatever is created, whatever occurs, is right for whether it's a person or my child or a group of people or whatever, and move on,
Yeah.
regardless of what it looks like as I'm moving through it. I don't know if that resonates or not, but Sheldon cleared up though.
Automatically, when you pretty much do go by doing things that are in the red, not because you've been told to do it or you think it's the right thing to do it, but you're automatically compelled to do it from your heart, that will in itself would automatically be a continuation of truth being spoken to others perpetually. So, for example, when you do something or when they see something in you and you're just having a regular conversation, you mean nothing by it, and they have an epiphany and like, oh, you know, they see so much in what you said and you like, I didn't say anything.
Oh, yeah.
That is that truth that is actually coming out. You never know what small little action, and when I say action, it can that means no action whatsoever as well to any type of situation, how that may compel someone to even think about that and concentrate on that later on that day or for weeks. That can be something very significant in their life, but you never know when it comes to, for example, the butterfly effect, where that little small thing will take them. So in essence, truth is being spread all the time and without your even being aware of it. So when it goes back to just being, as long as when you were talking about your heart being pure and it being honest, etc., then that's all you need to do. There's nothing else that needs to be thought about or done.
I think I'd add to that what I didn't say when I was, after you stopped and I added, was the profound thing to understand is stepping out into that truth that you have in you, you understand, makes a difference. So if there's a word courage circulating around any of this, it makes a difference. Even if you don't understand what that difference is. Even if more closely to you than farther away, it seems to create sometimes more turbulence than it does calm.
So be it.
The question, and I'm projecting from myself, the question isn't the courage to speak truth or whatever, it's the intent. The whole thing is legitimized or the opposite by the intention.
And the intention is everything. Let me show you something. One thing I missed, that may be why we couldn't go. Jesus said, Father, I thank thee that thou hearest me. I thank thee that thou heard me. If you read down to that verse, he didn't say anything to the Father. He says to Mary, did I not tell you that if you believe you receive the glory? That's what he said it to Mary. But then they roll the stone away, and he goes down and he makes a statement. Father, I thank you. Now keep in mind, he did not say, Lord. He said, Father, I thank thee. He said, the one from whom everything comes, I thank you that you heard me. The speaking was internal.
Prayer.
Yes, in vibration.
Yeah.
In tune with.
The desire.
Yes, intent. His intent. I thank you that you heard me. I thank you that you hear my intent. And I've said to you also that thoughts are spiritual speech. And it takes the verbalization of it to create the world that you live in. Because what as above, so is below. Mm-hmm. Now, if Jesus says, I thank you that you heard me, without having verbally expressed anything, how come we can't do the same thing? Why is it that we don't? And when I say we, I'm not just talking about the people in this room. I'm talking about as mankind. Why is it that we don't do that? Why is it that we walk into a room and we see someone who's not like us or who we don't like, and we start thinking all those thoughts about them? Mm-hmm. Push that out of your head. That's baggage that you have to leave by the side of the road in order to reflect Elohim. That's you. If you think, oh my God, look at that. Let it go. Let it go. Don't verbalize it. Whatever you put out there is coming back to you. Whatever you sow, and will be passed away. Phone start ringing after trouble. It's what you sow that you reap, right? Now, listen at this.
No, get the guilt out of it.
I'm
was guilt, right?
I want to walk all over her feet.
Do it.
If you sow righteousness, if you sow rightness, if you sow the right thing, that's what you're going to reap. But we always look at it from the other perspective. We tell people when they do something wrong, you're going to reap that.
Quick to do it.
Yeah, as opposed to when someone does something that's righteous, we don't say you go reap that. They say, oh boy, that's a good thing. you know?
True.
So we need to deal with it from the perspective of righteousness as opposed to giving life to unrighteousness by virtue of recognizing. Can I get away?
I don't want to say anything to that. But it's true.
Yeah, it's true. You reap what. Now, the reaping is this. You don't know how it's coming back.
Right.
You don't know how it's coming back. The light that you sow, the people that you help, might come back to you and a man taking you to get a battery.
That's right.
You don't know how it's coming back. It doesn't matter how it comes back. It doesn't matter if it comes back and you recognize it. What matters is you put it out there. That's what matters. You don't do it to get anything in return. You do it because it's the right thing to do. Because if you do it to get something in return, your intent is tainted. It's selfish. And it's going to come back to you the same way. I'm done, for real, I think.
Why don't you even try? We'll let you go when we're ready.
Okay. Maybe brother thing is that, are you ready to let me go, right?
Well, teach, that's it, that's the way it is.
That's it. Okay.
You wanna go earlier, teach a crummier class.
The light of the truth that we are, and the truth of the light that we are, has us to know that we are one with each other and one with our Creator. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Thank you.